Welcome to another Movao live interview. Today I am joined by Mathilda. She was born with a limb difference and had an amputation 4 years ago and has since been a strong voice for accessibility. This summer, she worked with Good Vibrations Festival to make it more inclusive for people with disabilities. And today she will share her story, her tips, and her vision for accessible festivals. Hello, Mathilda. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting.
Oh, thank you for being here. Really excited to speak to you. Can you please introduce yourself and share your story of amputation before and after?
Yeah. Well, hi. As you said, I'm Mathilda. I've been a below-knee amputee for about 4 years now, but I was born an amputee. I am a congenital amputee. Um, I lost my leg due to amniotic band syndrome. So I had parts of my leg amputated as a newborn. And I lived with that as called a Symes amputation until I was about 19, and which is when I had my amputation surgery 4 years ago. That decision was kind of a natural thing to get done at my age and with the amputation that I had before. So it was an elective surgery, but I was really glad that I had it. And yeah, it's 4 years this month since my surgery, which is insane to me. I
Is
can't.
that your second amputation surgery, though? So you had
Uh,
the first
yeah,
of the baby.
technically, the first one I was born without my foot, but they had to remove some bones and some things that had started to grow a little bit in order to make it a bit smoother so that a prosthetic would fit as a baby, as a child.
Yeah.
I got my first prosthetic leg when I was about 2, because
Oh,
obviously as a baby
yeah.
you don't need a prosthetic leg.
Yeah, that's the same as me.
Really? Yeah.
So I was born with limb difference as well, and I got my first prosthetic when I was around 18 months old, but it was a wooden type peg leg prosthesis. It was in the 80s,
Oh,
and yeah, it was really practical, but I had to have an amputation at 6 to shorten my leg so then I could have a better prosthesis. How
mm.
was your life growing up as a kid as an amputee? What could you do everything
Yeah.
all the other kids could
Because
do?
I'm like normal,
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes. I don't know what normal really is, but my normal was, running around with all the other kids. I used to be the best tree climber in my school. My school of about 50 people, but I still take that as a win.
That is a big win. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we did everything normally. My family loves to travel, so we spent a lot of time in my childhood traveling to different countries and all around the world. And usually I would just have to make sure that nothing got broken because there's not always easy access to a limb center.
Mm.
But most often it was just getting a new leg every few months because I was growing a lot. Not that
Yeah.
much. I'm still quite short, but I was growing a lot for a child.
Yeah. I know that's the crazy thing when you're a kid amputee. You grow so quickly. It feels like you're getting a new prosthesis like every 6 months.
Yeah, I think one year I went through 3, which is insane. It was
They're like,
so
"Can you
hard.
stop growing, please?"
Yeah. Well, no, I'd like to grow a bit more actually. I'm still.
Oh, no. You're amazing. So as a kid, it sounds very similar to my childhood, where you just threw yourself into everything. You didn't let your disability define you, and you just was a kid doing normal things,
Yeah,
living your life.
absolutely. I wasn't really conscious of the fact that I
Mm.
was an amputee. I knew I was kind of different, but like in the way that I think every kid knows that they're different from everyone else,
Yeah,
in the way that only kids can do.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
But I had a lot of fun with getting to choose different colours and different patterns for my sockets growing up. And because of the type of amputation that it was with the Symes, it's designed so that is it design? It's done so that kids can walk without a prosthesis.
Yeah.
So spent a lot of time as a young child, less so as I got older, but as a young child without my prosthesis on and still running around and walking on.
Yeah. And did you prefer it without wearing your prosthesis? Was it easier to get about?
No, it was definitely easier with the prosthesis. Um, but I did like it at times.
Did you keep breaking them? Is that what
No, actually, no, I didn't. I wasn't a very active kid. I know I said I was a big tree climber,
Yeah.
but I've spent most of my childhood in the corner with a book.
Oh, I love that. That's really good. I wish my children would spend their time in the corner reading a book and get off the iPad.
Yeah, I'm the only one in my family that does that. All of them
Your
don't.
parents must be very proud. Oh, so when did you start in your life noticing accessibility barriers in daily life, and what really ignited your passion for improving accessibility in on the UK festival scene?
Oh, well, those are kind of two different things for me because they happened at different times, I'd
Yeah.
say. The accessibility barriers, I started to notice a bit more as I was coming up to needing my second surgery, my amputation, below knee amputation surgery. When I was living in New Zealand, when I was about 15,
Wow, lovely.
I lived there for about 4.5 years. Um,
Nice.
when I was living there, I started to get some issues with my stump because with the Symes, it's a natural amputation to go to a below knee because as you get older, you get heavier and you start to put a lot more weight onto the end of the stump, and that starts to become a bit more problematic. So when I was about 15, going through puberty, body's changing quite a lot.
Yeah.
I ended up with quite a few infections on the end of my stump because it would just split open, and it's
Ouch.
graphic, but that was really quite
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and it meant that I spent a lot of time on crutches or in a wheelchair and in and out of the GP's office. And growing up, I never had to do that. So it started to become more and more obvious the ways in which the world just wasn't set out for me.
Yeah.
My school in Wellington was on a hill and there were lifts in the school, which is great, but they were in the middle of 2 blocks. So I'd have to like go up in the lift and then walk across and then go across again and then down. And then it was just so exhausting.
Yeah,
And
I can
like
imagine.
being in a hilly city was not helpful. And then we moved house halfway through one like instance of issue.
Yeah.
And their house itself was up a big slope, and it was just so hard sometimes to
Oh.
leave the house, which made it a lot more difficult.
Mm.
And,
So how did you overcome some of those barriers? Obviously, the one at school you had to like double track on yourself from lift to lift, but were you always using crutches at this time?
not constantly, I was on and off of it.
Yeah.
When the infection was gone, then I would, like, just walk as usual, but I was noticing more and more difficulty. Just time between these infections and using crutches was shortening.
Mm.
More time in pain than not. And I spent a lot of time just a bit miserable, actually, starting to get a bit miserable as well. I mean, I think coupled with the fact that I was also, a teenage girl, which kind of sucks being a teenage girl and an amputee going through
Mm.
lots of issues because I was incredibly conscious of my body.
Yes, I can definitely relate to that, Matilda. I've been there, so yeah, I
Um,
feel your pain.
yeah.
Pain. A lot longer ago, though.
Yeah.
Do you think then this ignited a passion within you? Because growing up with all these barriers that you were facing, with the difficulties that you were having with your residual limb
Mm.
and the pain that you were experiencing and not being able to fully wear a prosthesis, probably you saw so many barriers in front of you. Do you think this ignited your passion for what you want to do now with festivals and making them more inclusive and helping others to get out there and enjoy themselves like how they should do, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes and no, actually,
Okay.
because my family traveled a lot, because we did a lot of different things. Also grew up at festivals, so I've been going to festivals since I was a little kid, and it had been a while between going to festivals before I was having issues and then after I was having
Mhm.
issues. So I started to notice the differences and the difficulties a lot more after I came back to the UK and after I had my surgery and after I was going through that massive recovery process and actually being in a wheelchair full time for those 9 months that I was in the wheelchair and then using some form of walking aid for the next year and a half, 2 years. So going to a festival for the first time post surgery is what actually made me realize, oh my God, these need a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it started off with Good Vibrations
Yeah.
because small local festival, you've been, it's a lovely place. And I went there with my family. And the first year that I went was, I think I was 2 years post-op at that point. And I'm not gonna lie, I had the worst time. It was
Um,
really, really difficult. The festival itself was lovely, the music was great, the people were wonderful, but just the environment was awful and they didn't have a very good setup for accessibility. And I mean, they won't mind me saying this because they since brought me in to help out.
mm,
Because I reached out to them, I said, can I help you with your accessibility? Because I've been struggling quite a lot and I've noticed it's an area that you could improve. And they were so receptive to that. They were really excited
yeah.
to help. I was just going to offer some advice and volunteer, but they said, no, we want to hire you
Yeah.
do this properly. And I'm like, okay, great. New career path found.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Honestly, really good. And it's great for the festival to actually realize, hey, we're not actually being inclusive and
Mm,
let's make all the changes and responding to your message like that and giving you a job. That's actually absolutely brilliant, showing that they really want to make change too.
really good. Yeah, I'm really proud of them, especially as
Yeah.
like a festival, like we know who runs it and things like that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful festival. It's so brilliant. Really good. I actually had a friend up north who's an amputee, and she contacted me and said, "Oh, hey, I see you're at Good Vibrations Festival. What's it like?" I said, "It's
Like,
really good."
really
I don't know if she's managed. Yeah, she should come. She should come. So what was some of the accessibility improvements that you worked on with the team there?
mm. Um, Well, my main focus is on physical accessibility because that's my kind of area of lived experience, obviously. And we want to expand beyond that going forward. But what I started off with was looking at the website, so working kind of backwards almost, and looking at how easy it was to find the accessibility page, even so that people go onto the website and say, okay, cool, they do offer accessibility and this is what they offer. And from there, we worked out the system of arrival for when customers arrive at the festival is something that needs to be improved, as well as the actual setup of the festival itself. So what we've done is we have introduced an accessible parking area. We have introduced an access entry gate,
Mhm.
which is accessible by a driveway, because the usual gate you walk down to get in, but the access gate, you can drive straight up to it, so you don't have to walk that far to get to it. And the other main thing that we've done is make sure that we offer complimentary personal assistant tickets for anyone who needs it.
Oh, that's
Because
brilliant.
it is in the law that anyone requiring a personal assistant is legally entitled to a discounted ticket. So the personal assistant goes for free,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay.
So we made sure to really, really emphasize that and make sure that people could get the help that they needed. And then physically, what we worked on within the festival was making sure that there were twice as many accessible toilets. With locks on as well, because the locks were really important, especially at a festival, because anyone will go into any
Yeah.
toilet, especially, if they're a bit drunk in the evening. But we put locks on them and made sure our customers knew what the combination was. And we added an accessible shower. We added clearer signage. We created an accessible map so that people knew where different important things were at the festival. So where our gate was, where the toilets were, where the showers are, where the stages are, and where the drinking taps are. And then within the festival, we worked on setting up a viewing area. Um, And yeah, it's just so many things. It's had
That's really good.
so many things that they hadn't offered before. I had a lovely team that was helping me, a team of volunteers who helped when the customers arrived with their families or their personal assistants, helped them take their stuff and put it in the campsite so that they didn't have to carry it all. We had a buggy available all day that people could use to drive to the campsite.
That's brilliant. So I guess all the staff, because that's one thing that we talk about quite a lot. We have a invisible class campaign at the moment with Ottobock, and it's all about the barriers that people with disabilities face daily.
Mm.
And basically, a lot of the time and a lot of the issues are that people face is that actual staff aren't properly trained to be able to support people with disabilities in these
Yeah,
situations. So it's absolutely fantastic to hear
yeah,
that all the staff are involved with this as well.
yeah.
It's brilliant.
I mean, one of the things that I did as well, like behind the scenes, was create an accessibility guide for the staff of Good Vibrations
That's excellent.
based on what I knew of the festival and based on, I did some research as well into what other festivals offer and what reasonable adjustments can be made and what my own experience was of accessibility at different venues as well, because I have worked on accessibility proposals in the past, but never actually actioned them. So it was
Mm.
exciting to use and to implement. But what I did was create a guide for the staff so that in many ways my job can become redundant in the future because they know how to then take this and go forward with it.
Matilda, I don't think it's going to become redundant. I think you need
No,
to
I don't.
work
I
for
think
every festival. You need to get this guide into every festival, not just in the UK, but globally, because all
yeah,
this work sounds so fantastic. And honestly,
yeah,
there's a huge gap because so many people that I know. There was a friend recently, a wheelchair user, who had wanted to go to Glastonbury her entire life, and she only found the confidence this year to go. And that is one of the biggest
yeah,
barriers, isn't it? Is feeling
yeah,
confident enough to go.
yeah,
But knowing that all these festivals will be putting the right procedures and the right support in place will open up so many opportunities for people with limited mobility or all sorts of disabilities to enjoy festivals. So
yeah.
this is absolutely brilliant. Well
Yeah.
done.
I mean, really, when you Google festival accessibility, Glastonbury is one of the only ones that comes up. The rest of it's kind of ads and whatever that you.
Really?
And also, kind of funnily enough, I've never been to Glastonbury, and it's actually something that I'm still a bit nervous about trying to do. Because although I know that they do offer accessibility features, their process, from what I've read, their process actually looks a little bit harder. So, if Glastonbury wants to hire me, I will very much take.
Oh, I think you should definitely reach out to them and tell them all about the hard work that you've done. I reckon they'd be interested for sure. Yeah, I went to Glastonbury twice. Once,
Enjoy it.
yeah, it was really good. Once in the late 90s when people still used to jump the fence of Glastonbury.
With
I didn't, of course. I was too scared and too responsible. And
yeah,
then when did I go again? I think it was in 2001. And I went with my friends. It was before I used to do anything, because I just grew up with my disability, but never really kind of saw it as a disability. So just hung
yeah,
out and did the
yeah,
same things that everybody else did. And yeah, my second biggest memory well, both memories really, is just how big it is. And it was really tiring for me.
that scary is all the walking
It,
and trying through crowds and not knowing if there's gonna be enough seating
yeah, it was
and
hard.
disabled in a large crowd of really rowdy people is just really intense.
Yeah, and I don't think I could actually go back now knowing how big it is and because it is
Yeah,
really tough. The second time I went, we found a bike actually. I was going
it's like a good idea.
a random bike, yeah, that we borrowed or got given. I don't know. It's remarkable. You should definitely go. But
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
ready to, like, get a wheelbarrow and just push me
Get
around
your
on it.
friend. Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Oh, so if you were going to put an accessibility wish list that all festivals would follow, what would be your top things that you would like all festivals to do?
Well, I would actually really like an accessibility guide. So something that the customers can download or receive a copy of that they can refer to so that they know exactly what the festival actually offers. Having this physical or like digital document, I feel can be really helpful for someone's anxiety going into a festival because I might be wrong here and everyone's different, but I know that for me as a disabled person going into a busy public space like that, anything to reduce my anxiety and know how to get around the space is going to make it so much better. And this is something that I did as well for Good Vibrations is create a customer accessibility document. So I'm a little bit biased towards it, but I do think that is one of the things. And the other thing is the locks on the disabled toilets,
Yeah.
clear signage for the disabled toilets. I really think that's so super important. And then if you're camping, feel like there should be facilities to help you camp basically so that you can camp either closer to the festival or in a designated quiet zone or in a flatter area, but the staff should be there to help you. I think they should really make sure to make that a priority.
Yeah.
And then I think actually one of the things that I struggled with most was the uneven ground. And although I know that that's part of the festival experience, I do think it is very easy as well to just put some mats on the floor in certain places to create a flat level area because honestly the relief of leaving the festival actually and just standing on flat even ground, it's insane. I never really noticed how much I needed that until I'd left the festival that first year. And I'd literally gone home. I got out the car and onto the pavement next to the car and I was like, oh, my hips, oh, my back, it was such a relief. So I actually think creating some flat,
Yeah.
accessible spaces, wheelchair accessible spaces with seating and even in a bit more of a quiet area is really important. And those aren't necessarily things that you would expect, but they're things that I have since put on that list since working on a festival myself.
Yeah. And did you camp?
I did, yes, but I was in a caravan.
Hey. I was about to say, what are your top tips for camping in a tent at festivals? But if it was a camper
I've
van.
got it's the first year I've actually been in the caravan at festival, this year, but I was really insistent on going in the caravan this year because I still have issues because it's part of my life is to have some issues and to have some pain.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that you can do when you're going to a place like a festival.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give to someone now who really wants to go to a festival? They have a disability, they're feeling really nervous, they're researching, they're looking online at festivals, and they haven't got one of these accessibility guides, which you should make mandate and you should
Yeah.
make sure your guide gets to all festivals, by the way. What advice would you give to them as an insider, how they could maybe potentially find out the information to make them feel a little bit more relaxed about going to a certain festival?
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on the festival. If you're willing to go to kind of any festival, you just want the festival experience, I would definitely look for one that has clear accessibility signage on their website because that means that it's something that they definitely prioritize. It's usually found under the FAQ section, sometimes it's on the main page. But if it's there, if it's accessible within 2 clicks, you know that that's something that they have prioritized. So you know that they'll have facilities to help you out to go there. If you want to go to a specific festival that maybe isn't making it that obvious, legally places are required to create some sort of accessibility. So emailing ahead, I really recommend because it's going to be easier for the team to help you if you help them. So if
Yeah.
you go, hi, I'm coming with these needs, and is there any way you can help accommodate that? And more often than not, they'll be more than happy to do that because you'd be surprised at how many people, or maybe not so surprised, but how many people don't reach out and just show up. So I really think you want to be working with the festival team because
Yeah.
often festival people are lovely, they all just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would also really make sure that you have, your list of stuff that you know you need. It's not like you have to go off into the woods and live without anything. You can take stuff with you. Like I take a camping chair, I take fairy lights, I take my portable charger. I make sure that I have signal so that if I need to retreat and go and sit on my phone or watch something for a bit, that's okay. And make sure that I have my portable chair with me.
Yeah.
So I think making sure that you have the things with you that make you feel comfortable, communicating with the festival staff and researching ahead of time. And it should be really enjoyable. I think the main thing is just to try and enjoy it.
That sounds like absolutely fantastic advice.
Yeah.
And I was just about to ask it, but I think you've answered that. What would be in your festival bag to
Mm.
make your experience as an amputee? What would you say really works for you? Obviously everyone's different, but people might think, "Oh, I never thought of taking that."
Yeah. Well, a portable chair, like a really lightweight one, so that
Mhm.
carry it around, really helpful. A power bank, as I said before. I really, really recommend that amputees in particular take wet wipes and antibacterial wipes, because if you're going to a festival and it's the summer, often the dirt and the dust and the sweat is just uncomfortable. You know what I'm talking about. So wet wipes are a really big one for me, and SPF. It's kind of, to be honest, it's kind of the things that you would normally take to a festival,
Yeah.
but for me, it would be,
Your comfort
yeah,
items that you said, your
comfort.
chair.
I definitely always need to take a walking stick with me as well. Even if I might be having a brilliant week, I might be absolutely fine, but then I go to a festival and within 2 days or even on the second day, I just need the stick and I need the
Mm,
support, even if it's uneven ground, because of like moving around a lot and you want to make sure that you're stable. And even having that for your like anxiety or for your
yeah.
well-being is a really good idea. And then pain medication.
Yeah.
Definitely take some paracetamol with you.
Yeah, exactly. But I definitely feel you for the walking stick because as an amputee, I like to use a walking stick, and I find especially if I'm walking in the Ashdown Forest or
Yeah.
on uneven terrain, it just makes you feel so much more balanced, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I know there's a lot of people that try not to use it because they want to make sure that their balance is worked on, and that they are working their leg muscles. Even if it's just there,
Yeah,
having it around. I forgot it this year and it was really horrible because I was walking around going,
yeah.
I feel handed, I need some help. I was just clinging onto my boyfriend the entire time.
I feel you there. If I forget mine, it's like, can I link into you? You just lean on others, don't you?
We
But
very close for the next 2 hours.
oh, so I'm going to ask you my final question, Matilda. I like to ask this a lot of the times. If you could go back in time and give yourself some advice, someone now might be listening to this interview and be in a space or a place where they're struggling a little bit, what advice could you go back and give yourself when you really needed it?
That's a really good question, and it's actually also really hard to answer. I still go through difficulties even now,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Yeah, I think what younger me really needed to hear was that it's not embarrassing to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it's okay to ask for help. And I know that's a bit of a cliche answer because everyone always says, "Oh, it's okay to ask for help." But people say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," but they don't actually believe that. I know that I didn't actually believe that. So I was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna burden someone. It's embarrassing or whatever." But what's worse, a little bit of embarrassment or a lot of pain? There's a bit of a disconnect there. So I would say it's make sure to ask for help and make sure to acknowledge your limits. Like y- live in a world that isn't set up to be accessible for everyone. There's only so much that you can change your environment. So making sure to actually take time and touch back in with yourself and say, hey, do I need to sit down now? Maybe I should. I'm
Mm,
not going to miss out. Like the FOMO is so real when you know that you have to sit down, but you can come back to it and you're going to feel so much better if you take that moment for yourself.
mhm.
take that moment to sit down and then come back to it.
Can definitely relate to that because that's something I always struggled with when I was younger, was asking for help. In a
Mm.
way, I thought if I was asking for help, it was admitting that I was struggling or I couldn't do something. Because as a child, I always wanted to prove others, hey, I can do all this.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
I was nicknamed the abled disabled by my family, which I don't know how I feel about now. When I was young, it was
Yeah. So now when you finally actually realize like, hey, people do want to support and help. And if you ask, you're like, hey, why didn't I ask for help so much more? Because it is actually quite nice to not struggle.
people are so willing to help as
Yeah.
well.
Exactly.
Mm, yeah, it's insane. I mean, it's not nice when people are condescending and like, "Oh,
Yeah.
do you need help?" It's like, "No, I didn't ask for it actually."
Yeah.
But
It's
more
not nice if you're trying to do your shopping or carry out daily chores and someone goes, oh,
you can
how are you
see me clearly.
managing?
Yeah, like, "I'm okay, thank you."
Do you need help? No, I'm fine. Done this
Yeah,
many times, thank you.
totally.
Oh, thank you, Mathilda. It's been so lovely speaking to you. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing your story and all the hard work that you're doing to make festivals more inclusive. And I definitely reckon you should be contacting them and getting this guide, a mandate for sure. Honestly, look into that. It's a great idea.
maybe.
Yeah.
Now I'm about to graduate university, so I'm looking for what to do next. Maybe this is what I do next.
Be your next new adventure and goal. Very exciting. I can't wait to see your
I
journey.
know.
Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Until now, ciao.